Here is a picture of our dear brother Usopp, and certainly he's front and center these last couple of chapters, and you really find a newfound respect for him. But if you like this type of drawing and more, remember to follow me on all the social networks.
One Piece, Chapter 186, 4!
Holy shit, is all I can say, man. That was intense. Intense. And now I'll get back on track here. Hello, my brothers and sisters of the Nerd Nation. I, as always, am Jim, here to bring you another review on the awesome and action-packed, tantalizing tale of One Piece. This was really a cool chapter. It's going to end off Volume 20, and man, did it go out with a bang. This is a much longer arc than we've previously seen, so it seems like some of these battles that are leading up to kind of the main battle seem to be much longer, much more well-developed, and much, more drawn out, but in a good way. So, at the end of last chapter, of course, we saw, them, Usopp and Chopper figuring out that, hey, basically, if we can, get a couple of these exploding baseballs from Mr. Four to blow up here, it'll cave in these tunnels that mole woman, Miss Merry Christmas, has been making, and hopefully take them out. And at the end, it looked like, maybe they were. I didn't know. I didn't know if they were alive, if they were done for, or what. So they aren't. They weren't done for. We wind up seeing that's how the chapter ends, and this one picks up right away with, basically they kind of, as the smoke clears, they see that Mr. Four is still standing, and then Miss Merry Christmas, went and was able to burrow under in time to get out or whatever, and Usopp goes to take off, right? And this is something similar that he did. He's actually done it a couple of different times where it looked like he was just going to completely take off and then something turned him around. And so he goes and he's like, okay, that's it. I'm done, man. We got to go. I got to take off. And Chopper's like, what the hell are you doing, And Usopp's like, that's no more, And as he's going to run away, Miss Merry Christmas comes up out of the, grabs his leg and comes up out of the, the ground or whatever. And, she goes and she's, kind of taunting him and, hey, you two can't take us out and blah, blah, blah. And then she goes and she starts poking fun at Luffy. And she's like, listen, she goes, you know what? She goes, Mr. Zero, our boss, went and took out, your cat. Because she says something to the effect of, your weak captain, or your captain would be ashamed to have such a weak crew or whatever if he were still around, or something to that effect, alluding that Luffy's not around anymore. And then she, she's like, yeah, Mr. Zero defeated your captain hours ago. The rebels have started the battle, and Alabasta's pretty much all but lost, pretty much telling him, this is the intimidation factor for her, right? Where she's trying to go and say, listen, the odds are all stacked against you. You're not going to beat us, blah, 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 So, so that you can tell something turns in Usopp, and Usopp gets pissed off, and he's like, what are you talking about? That didn't happen, and Luffy can't lose. He can't lose here. He's going to be king of the pirates, And I can just imagine him saying it with such conviction, Luffy can't lose. He's going to be king of the pirates, And Miss Merry Christmas just kind of laughs it off, and she's like, oh, that idiot, that stupid upstart, this is the grand line. There's no way that he could, when you make a claim like that, you better, this and that, you better be able to back it up. And she goes and as she's dragging Usopp around, she goes and winds up dragging him through and hitting him into a wall, and doing her Mole Town Highway or whatever she calls it. And I'm thinking, man, this is just shitty, and just beating up Usopp. And is just not doing very well. So then she goes, and Usopp again, like I said, he's fighting back, and he does this whole kind of speech as she's going, and she goes and she's pulling him towards Mr. Four, and basically coordinating an attack where she's going to kind of momentum whip him forward to Mr. Four, and Mr. Four is just going to nail him with that 4-ton bat that he's got, right? So as this is going on, though, Usopp kind of starts this little monologue in this speech about we can't lose, you can't give up, Luffy can't, and it's basically what he's saying is that even in the face of certain doom and defeat, you still have to fight, on. And I think that's something that to me is profound because it's something that he has learned from Luffy. As dim-witted as he can be, Luffy ultimately still pushes through no matter what. And Usopp has seen that now time and time again. And I think that Usopp is now starting to try to take on and inherit some of those traits and be like, hey, you know what? I'm not going to give up. Even if I can't win, I'm not going to give up. So he goes, and as she's pulling him towards, this is a gut-wrenching part because, he just gets nailed by Mr. Four, right? And he's just gets knocked, 30, 40 feet up in the air. They show this picture that looks like almost like an x-ray of his skull and how it's cracked. So you're to assume that he got his fucking skull cracked open, right? And he goes and lands on the ground and everything like that. And Chopper's like, no, Usopp, you know. And I mean, you're thinking, man, this is terrible. I mean, he's dead, if not close to dead, you know. And I'm thinking, I don't know how he's going to make it north of this chapter, you know. And so anyway, so Usopp goes and he's bloodied, he's broken, his nose is bent, he's on his knees, right? And he's just like, you know, he goes, you know, and he says something to the effect of, you know, Luffy won't give up. You know, I forget the exact words over here that he has, but it's basically, you know, something to the effect of once he gets nailed, like, you know, he won't back down here. And that's when somebody makes fun of their friend's dream, you know. He basically tells them, like, don't, you know, I won't let you laugh at Luffy's dream. That's what I was trying to get at, and I just couldn't remember the words that he had used. But, it, you know, it's basically like, you want to go and make fun of my captain and what he's looking to do, you know, how dare you? Who do you think you are? You know, that type of thing. And like I said, I mean, and coming from this guy, I mean, even Chopper's like, oh my God, Usopp, you're still alive, you know? So they go and pull another one, you know, the Miss Merry Christmas goes to grab him again and pull him and, you know, pull him and yank him towards or whatever. And she's like, get ready for another one, Mr. Four, you know? And you're thinking, oh man, he cannot survive another hill. I'm surprised he's still even conscious after the other one. He's got to be running on pure adrenaline right now, you know? Fictional character or not, I mean, just, you know, what a guy to get nailed like that and then to still be like, you're not going to talk shit about my captain, you know? So I thought it was awesome. So anyway, so he's getting pulled towards or whatever, and then he goes and he's able to pull out and fire at in between him and Mr. Four. You know, he's being pulled obviously towards him. He's maybe a couple hundred feet away at the time. I don't know the distance. Fires a smoke star, right, to create like a diversion, a smoke screen or whatever. And Chopper goes to and changes into one of his forms, and I think it's like the horn form or something like that. It's actually kind of cool. He goes and kind of mans up and gets really angry. Here we go. He uses his horn boost. You know, that's what it is there. Horn boost. And goes and just kind of turns into a cool looking creature. So that's obviously one of his other transformations that he can use when his Rumble Ball is active. You know, he can use the 4 additional transformations as opposed to just the 3 that the Zoan, you know, Devil Fruit users can normally have. So he goes and kind of turns into this hulking beast. And it's really kind of cool how it all is played out because Usopp goes and right around the time they hit the smoke screen or whatever, right? Usopp goes and pulls out of his, actually jumps out and pulls out of his shoes, right? That Miss Merry Christmas was holding on to drag him, you know, as she was kind of going and churning up half underground, like she does. She's a mole, obviously. And then he goes, Chopper now, you know? So Chopper comes in and just goes, boom, and just nails her, right? And kind of bucks her up with his horns and bucks her up right into for a perfect pitch. And remember, there's a smoke screen going on. And Mr. Four, he's kind of slow to begin with, you know? So you tell him a joke on Monday, he laughs on a Wednesday. He's that type of guy. And so he's already wound up and ready to go with this 4-ton bat, right? And actually, I'm batting lefty because I am lefty. I think he's a righty, but whatever. It doesn't matter. So, you know, watch it in the mirror, I guess. Anyway, so he's getting all ready. And then, and like I said, mind you, there's the smoke screen and everything. So you got to picture this whole deal. And Miss Merry Christmas, as she's getting propelled towards him, is like, Mr. Four, no, Mr. Four, no. And all of a sudden, whap! I mean, he just fucking boom, you know, and you hear the crowd go wild, right? And in my mind, I grew up watching a lot of baseball. So I just picture it's way back. It could be. It is, you know? And I mean, over the wall, boom. I mean, she is just knocked clean out, right? So then it's kind of cool because then you're thinking, all right, and he's just like, oh, what? You know, he's kind of thinking like, what happened? Before he can even have time to think about what's going on, Usopp goes and minus his shoes now, and of course bloodied and beaten and broken and should be dead or unconscious by all accounts, goes and fires this hammer star, right? Which basically looks like a cool like hammer or whatever that he fires from his slingshot and fires it right at Mr. Four. And I believe too that Chopper goes and comes in and gives him a nail as well because he fires this hammer right at him. And he winds up just nailing him with this thing. Yeah, and then Chopper comes in for a hit afterwards, it looks like, and just, I mean, just lays out Mr. Four, you know? He is completely taken out. And, and honestly, the action scene happened so quickly, for all I know, I don't even know if it was, I know it was a combination of the both, but I don't know if he hit him at the right time, too, with that hammer where, maybe he was just about to hit another one of his balls or something like that, and that exploded as well, because we do know that, obviously, Usopp is not, superhuman in his strength and what have you. But just the way the whole thing was portrayed and done and everything else, because really, at the beginning of the chapter, I was just like, oh, fuck, these two are still standing. what the hell, you know? And I'm just thinking, this is somebody else is going to have to come in and give them a lifeline. Chopper and Usopp are just not strong enough to do it, you know? But man, ultimately that was, and that's how it's just about now. The last page is Usopp collapsing, right, in a heap, and Chopper going, oh my god, Usopp, doctor, we need a doctor. And Usopp's like, you are a doctor. And Chopper just kind of forgot in the whole, you know, just the adrenaline and everything that was happening, the excitement of what was going on. But I mean, Usopp is not in a good way right now. So that is how the chapter ends. That is how the volume ends. And I mean, really just edge of your seat stuff, because you know that the shit's going to go down. It's already started to go down with Sanji and Mr. Two Bon Clay. You know that Zoro and Nami are going to be tasked with taking out Miss Doublefinger and Mr. One, and we haven't even seen the extent of their powers yet. And then we know, obviously, that some point down the road here, you know, it's inevitable that Luffy's going to wind up, you know, appearing and going toe-to-toe with Croc again. So really, really cool stuff happening. And I apologize to be so long-winded in this one. This was just an exciting one for me. Just truly, truly a lot of fun. And it wasn't so much just the action. The action's great, but it was just the depiction and the heart that Usopp had to just take a licking and keep on ticking, man, I tell you. So definitely that's going to be my chapter question too. I know that I have heard, you know, throughout the first couple hundred chapters I've been doing that, you know, that Usopp is a fan favorite for many. Others are kind of like, I don't like him, this and that. But, you know, what are your thoughts on Usopp? And put yourself in my shoes. What are your thoughts on Usopp after you've seen him? He's had his moments, you know, but they've been smaller moments for the most part. His real highlight up until now, I think, was the Arlong Park, him taking out Chu. But, you know, ultimately, Usopp is still kind of one of those, like, you know, run first and ask questions later type of guy. And although he's there, he's very funny. He's an inventor, comedic relief. He's very, very funny for that. You know, you haven't seen him really do a whole lot. And I think that this one, man, for him to just keep coming at them like that and then to go and be at the brink of death and still pull what he did. So anyway, sorry, too long-winded. Question is, what do you think of Usopp? If you were in my shoes, if you're reading this and you're at this point, you've seen nothing that he's done in the future, what are your thoughts on Usopp right now? Leave the answer to that in the comments down below, brothers and sisters. Feel free to hit the thumbs up, the like button if you should think that my sorry ass deserves it. And, you know, subscribe if you haven't done so already. We look forward to catching you in the next chapter, in the next volume, nation.
Hey, Arlong, yeah, you're laughing here, boy, but I bet you're not laughing now, huh? Yeah, are ya? Arya! Oh, nothing to laugh about now that Luffy shoved his foot in your arse.